Good afternoon and welcome to the latest edition of the Walker Texas Rangers franchise documentary. I'm delighted this evening to be joined by the one and only Sheree Wilson, who played the role of Alex Cahill in Walker Texas Ranger from 1993 to 2001, 9 seasons, over 196 episodes, and one of the most iconic cult classic sort of action TV series shows, not only in the United States but all over the world. I suppose starting off, Sheree, I suppose Walker Texas Rangers, Texas Ranger, it came for a time of you in terms of the 90s after you've just been involved in another iconic, legendary TV series, Dallas, that went on for Walker Texas Ranger went on for 9 seasons. I said Dallas went on for like 12 years, where you played sort of
13 seasons. I was on years. Well, actually, no, it was 12 seasons. I was on from years 7 to 12, and then 9 full seasons of Walker Texas Ranger. So I've spent, 14 years on CBS in between the two shows. It's kind of crazy, huh?
And Sheree, did you ever think after your time when Dallas finished and the character April Ewing sort of finished in terms of the Dallas sort of Universal project? Do you ever think you'd go back into such a long sort of winded sort of TV series? Would have had to have taken a real special project for you to devote your time to a TV show that sort of long after coming off what was an iconic TV series in Dallas, where you think to yourself, I'm going to do a few movies here and there, I'm going to do a few bits of TV series, but I'm not going to spend a lifetime like Dallas was a lifetime?
Well, you know something? It's every actor's dream, dream to be on a long-running TV series, because the one thing that you don't get to do typically is, you don't have a lot of variety because you're not playing a different character in every movie. You're not a serial killer and then a nun and then a doctor and then a lawyer and then whatever. When you're acting, you can take on comedies and all sorts of roles. But for me, I mean, talk about counting your blessings twice. 2 of the most popular long-running shows in television history. And they are popular worldwide because when I travel in Europe and everywhere I go, everybody knows me. It's really it's so much fun to be in other countries and then turn on the television and, oh, that's what I sound like in French. Oh, my Italian is very nice. Oh, I don't know how it's actually been an actor's and my personal dream. I have a little different perspective because I became a first-time mother when I got pregnant when it was almost it was the second to last season of Dallas. So I was 9 months pregnant when I married Bobby Ewing. I had the biggest bouquet of flowers over my belly as I walked down the aisle. Then we went on hiatus, and I gave birth, and 5 weeks later, I was on my honeymoon in Paris with my new little infant, and celebrated and back to work in Paris, France. And I did tell our executive producer that I wanted to be killed off in grand fashion. I didn't want to just go out like milquetoast. I really wanted to go out with a bang because I wanted to be a first-time mom. And I knew that this season was the last season. So I said, give me, just try to write me out as soon as you possibly can. So of course they machine gunned me down. And note to self, never ask to be killed off because you never know if the show is going to be resurrected. And then you're dead. So I couldn't go back and do the Dallas reboot. But no, I spent 2 years at home on purpose, just to be with my baby. And after he turned 2, I thought, okay, he's getting old enough. I can start looking for work again. And what I did want is another TV series.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to be the star, the only star. Like Dallas, it was an ensemble cast. And when I read the Walker script and this and that, I thought, okay, here's the Texas Rangers. Here's all these really powerful men, you know, and I'll be in a sea of men and be the strong district attorney, assistant district attorney. So for me, it was ideal because I can be a full-time actress and a full-time mom when you're on a TV series, because you get to stay at home. You're home, you're going to work, you know, Dallas, Fort Worth, all over the city, but at night you go home to your house. When you're shooting a film, I may be shooting a film. I shot a film in Israel, I was in Vancouver, then I was in Texas, then I was in, you know, you never know how many months you're going to be gone from home base, and that's too hard on a child. So I loved the fact that I got cast when Luke was 3 on Walker, Texas Ranger. And it was just a perfect fit for our family, because some days I work 5 days a week. Some days when I'm not in the episode too heavily, I would work 2 days a week or 1 day a week, then back to 5 or 4. But I really had the opportunity to feel like I could be full-time mom and full-time actress at the same time.
And I suppose, Sheree, you're coming into Walker, Texas Rangers. You're looking for that sort of part. You're sort of looking for that role. And obviously, Texas, as we know, it's a real sort of traditional state. And if you've played the character, a Ewing sort of a character, you're going to be known all over Texas. I know that's for sure, first most. But when you apply for another sort of Texas sort of show, which Walker, Texas Ranger was, I suppose it's very, when you apply for that sort of position, actors, you want to be judged on that sort of character. But as a cast coming sort of in, they'll like say, oh, there's someone there's April Ewing. She's trying out for the role of Alex Cahill. No, there's Sheree. So, but like almost like the audience is going to, she has a big audience to pull to her straight away. They're going to appeal, the sort of thing like that. So did you almost feel coming into that sort of thing when you tried out for the role that you had a bit of an advantage given your sort of Texas roots and your long time history in Dallas and sort of getting that role?
Well, it didn't hurt having my roots in already established in Dallas, and you know, it is such a, Alex and April are such different characters. As you know, April Stevens had wild curly hair. Alex Cahill had very straight hair. She was much more serious. You know, just little subtle things that change just your perspective on who these characters are. And they don't, you know, physically and emotionally act the same or look the same. And it's just been a magical ride, because we were a very close family on the set of Dallas, and Larry and Linda and Patrick and, oh my God, Kenny and Charlene, and, you know, Steve, we had so much fun. I was always trying to just not laugh my makeup off, because Patrick and Larry were so hysterical, and they would bounce off each other like real brothers. And they had such quick wits that all we did was crack up. And on Walker, we became such a close family because the episodes were so intense. You'd be, you know, you were in court one day, but the next day you could be kidnapped, you could be fighting off bad guys, you could be whitewater rafting, chased by a bear, rappelling down a cliff. It was a different adventure every day. And there was a lot of danger and a lot of action and a lot of coordination. And so you really found the trust in your fellow castmates and your crew and your stunt people and coordinators and the directors. And it's just, it is like one big grand adventure.
I suppose, Sheree, I'm just going to tell you a stat now. I don't know if you're aware of this in terms of your character, Alex Cahill. But in terms of a cat has 9 lives anyway, you must have had an awful lot more than 9 lives. And if there was a Guinness Book of World Records in TV series, this must be a first. Your character Alex was abducted 22 times, shot 3 times, and drugged once. I mean, how the moly you're not 6 feet under, I'll never know. But they say cats have 9 lives. To be abducted 22 times, kidnapped, shot 3 times, and drugged once, and you're still with us.
You know, God is good. That's all I could say. And so is Chuck Norris. So is Walker. He kicks those bad guys in the head for having a gun in the first place, and he always would rescue me. I didn't have it. There was no doubt. But yes, I do have, I'm quite resilient. It must be my Viking roots, you're like very strong. I had no idea I was abducted 22 times, but that pretty much makes sense. I know I was shot 3 times.
And Sheree, I suppose in terms of, we all know in terms of Walker Texas Rangers about here, everyone knows across Ireland and the UK and everything about Chuck Norris' involvement, but not many people are very familiar with that this was a Norris family project. Eric Norris was involved. There was a good lot of the brothers that were involved, and this was a whole sort of something close to the Norris family that Chuck had. It was not only Chuck Norris spearheading the show, there was an awful lot of the Norris brothers behind the scenes heavily involved as well.
Well, Chuck is a huge family man. And in fact, he had 9 grandchildren born in those 9 years on the set of Walker, Texas Ranger. Eric Norris and Mike Norris both started out as stuntmen. Aaron Norris, those are his sons, Mike and Eric. They both moved up through the ranks of being stuntmen to stunt coordinator to directing episodes. We started out the show, and Aaron and Chuck, Aaron is Chuck's brother, they had done Missing in Actions. They'd done a million films together where Aaron directed and Chuck starred. So they had, they're brothers, but their working relationship was flawless. So it was, we went through 3 presidents at CBS, changing of the guard. We went through 4 or 5 executive producers in the first couple of years because nobody could get the show right. They didn't know how to quite write for Chuck. They didn't know his action. And finally, he just said, just get my brother in here. He knows exactly how I fight, how to coordinate fights, how to write for Chuck's talents and all of his, he's the 9-time world karate champion. And to really, really highlight all of Chuck's skills and talents and just the way he likes to storytell. We were a really good family show, and Chuck and, we're all big Christians, and we wanted it to be a show that little kids could watch to the grandparents, and that there wasn't profanity. There wasn't, that some of the episodes were strong. They're very strong, and they dealt with very strong issues that are out in the world. But I think we handled them very responsibly, and we always had a very true kind of spiritual tone to our show. That I think is the reason we had such longevity, or still have longevity. We're still on the air 3 times a day here in the States. I don't know in Ireland right now how many times we're on or if we're still on, but people are still watching. And we ended in 2001, started in 93. That makes me sound very old. I must have started when I was a teenager. But no, we've just, the Norris family is a very close family. And, when you're working with your real family and then your, television family, it's just one big celebration. And everybody really cares about each other. So you look out for each other. And I think that came across completely in the show, that we really did love each other.
Yeah, and I suppose, Sherry, just to clear up that point, for you, it's on CBS Action here in England and Ireland every day for an hour each Saturday. So, in
Oh,
terms of
that's
that,
so exciting. Thank you, Ireland, for watching. You've kept us all in jobs for a very long time.
um, Sherry, in terms of Walker Texas Ranger now, in terms of 9 seasons, the
Mhm.
early seasons, maybe the first season, second season, was there ever any sort of a threat to the show? Were you hitting your numbers straight from the off? Was there ever a sort? I know what we have in the current climate now to get renewals in terms of TV series for
Right,
more than 2 or 3 seasons is very rare. I know back in the 80s, 90s, people were signed into 6, 7 year long deals from the
right.
off in terms of that. But was that the case for Walker Texas Ranger when you got the part, when you got involved? You knew you had 5, 6 seasons before a renewal was in the process, or did you have to hit certain numbers every year? And was there ever a danger from the offset that the show mightn't last more than?
There was never a danger that we would go off the air. Our initial ratings were off the charts. And in fact, one of the episodes that there was a string of really great episodes, and I will brag a little bit that I co-wrote one of them that hit the top 10 shows across the board. And that's really strong. We would still probably be filming if Chuck hadn't gotten tired at his hips. I mean, he literally needed hip replacement surgery from all that kicking and all of that, all those fights. And after 9 years, it's hard to just have the stamina to get up and do 5-hour fight scenes in black jeans and a black hat in triple digit heat in Texas. You kind of want to break after a while. So really, it was us. We ended the show instead of vice versa. It was time, and Chuck just was like, I think I need to, take it a little easy right now, and um, take care of his health, which he did, and he's back and strong as ever. But no, I think we've had that charmed, magical formula, and the the synergy and the charisma, between the characters, and just the way that the writers knew how to write for us. Then once we got our really core team under Aaron's, you know, direction, we had a great thing going.
And I suppose, Sherry, every Batman needs his Robin to be
Right.
successful. And
Oh my
for
God.
the Batman obviously was Chuck Norris, but the Robin obviously was Clarence Gilliard, who played James Trevette. And in terms of that, it really shot Clarence to fame, I suppose. Walker, Texas sort of Ranger. I suppose he had played a bit for the Dallas Cowboys. In terms of a previous sort of lifetime career, he was
Right.
getting into acting. He stumbled across, I suppose, Walker, Texas Ranger, and the rest is history.
Well, first of all, Clarence is a profoundly gifted actor. We are working together right now and have been for the last 5 years. Clarence is so talented, it's scary. I mean, as far as his acting skills, his directing skills, he actually got his master's degree while we were shooting Walker, Texas Ranger. He went back to school and got his master's in theater and in teaching. And so he has been a teacher at the University of Las Vegas, Nevada, UNLV, for the last 11, 12 years since we ended. He's been teaching drama, he's been teaching acting, and he's been teaching theater. And so he came to me 5 years ago and said, Sheree, you want to work together again? And I said, in a heartbeat, I would work with you on anything. So we have been touring the country up until COVID hit with Driving Miss Daisy. And we really want to do a European tour too. If you have any ideas about that, please let me know.
Okay.
But we have such great chemistry on stage. And he plays Hoke, I play Daisy. I have a gray wig. I age myself from 75 to 90. It's so much fun. And all the audience laughs so much because it's a Pulitzer Prize winning play. And it's almost as relevant right now as it was when it was written, because it deals with the racial, what was going on in the 60s and what was going on with Martin Luther King. And it was two very unlikely people, this staunch little Jewish lady and this this black chauffeur. It turns out to be the most beautiful love story about the deepest kind of friendship that you can have. And it shatters all the barriers, shatters all the preconceived ideas or the what was, you know,
Hmm.
happening at the time. And we have had such a beautiful run, and until they shut the theaters down, but we're going to be back at it in 2021.
Sheree, I suppose in terms of Walker Texas Rangers, it was always in terms of your character, in terms of Alex Cahill and in terms of Cordell Walker, it was will they or won't they, in terms of that sort of love interest for a long time before it sort of actually happened. And they also mimics sort of that sort of interest in terms of Judson's character and Nia Peoples' character as well. They were sort of teased that out as sort of a second sort of love sort of interest as well. So in terms of that, in terms of sort of the opening sort of years, in terms of, I suppose that was an awful lot of good fun and some sort of acting in terms of pretending a sort of a love interest between yourselves and Chuck.
It's always fun to flirt. Don't we all love to flirt? I mean, we had so much fun playing off of each other, with each other. Our characters finally did get together eventually, and we ended up getting married and having a child. But for the first, I don't know how many years, it was like we were kind of on, we were off, we didn't know, what are we? Um, Always Alex and Trevette had a very close friendship. And CD Parker, oh my God, I loved CD, Noble Willingham. He was just the fun joy, made us all laugh at CD's Bar and Grill. And it was like, it was our Cheers bar. We get to come in and settle from the day and whatever the case was, what we were dealing with. And no, it was intense friendship and lots of fun flirting.
And I suppose, Sheree, you mentioned there Noble Willingham, who played C.D. Parker. And I would always sort of remind he's sort of a role like a commander-in-chief, a sort of a
Right.
lieutenant that sort of gave the orders and everyone sort of listened. And he almost felt like that he was still in command of the Walker Texas Rangers, that he was a sort of a higher being in terms of supremacy that Chuck and Clarence, in terms of the characters, Cordell and Trevette, would always go to seek. He almost felt like the wise man, the elder sort of statesman in terms of the show, and that sort of, bro, they always, whenever you needed guidance, you went to CD.
Well, it's true. And, it's like we all should, and I certainly do, respect the next generation or our older generation, or respect your elders, because they've lived longer. They've had the life experiences. They can really guide you in an authentic and real way because they've actually been through it. So it just made perfect sense. His character was always, one that we would all turn to and confide in or ask for advice, and also have quite a few laughs.
I suppose, Sheree, I suppose not many people will ask, maybe they've asked you this question before, but in terms of you've been on probably two of the most longest sitcom shows in US sort of history. And obviously you've starred beside two of the most iconic, legendary actors in terms of J.R. Ewing as actor, and in terms of Chuck Norris. And is there any sort of similarities between the two? Are they very two different sort of guys? Are they? What are they? What are they like? What were they like? What was J.R.'s like in his prime in terms of off the set? Are they any way alike at all?
Not even remotely. I mean, they're alike in the fact that they were both family men. They were both committed to their craft and very diligent and very talented. But Larry was the Pied Piper. Larry had a costumes closet about the size of my entire master bedroom suite. He had gorilla costume, beefeater costumes, this, that. He would go to the store in a full-on gorilla suit. And the people would just go, "Oh, hi, Larry." Because he was such a clown. He would play his little piccolo and march with flags up and down the beach, and everybody would just follow him. He was like the Pied Piper, and always had a joke for anything. So Larry went through life very festive and very full tilt. Chuck is much more disciplined, and I think you don't become the 9 times world karate champion of the world without intense discipline. You don't go to the gym, 3 times and then get into a match. You go every day, 3 hours a day. So Chuck was more serious, but he had a very playful, fun side. He would melt when his grandchildren are around or anybody like that. But they're just different personalities, both phenomenal human beings, but different on the different ends of this spectrum in terms of discipline and seriousness and total cartoon comedy.
I suppose, Sheree, I've delayed you long enough. It's been an absolute pleasure, Sheree Wilson, talking to you today to relive your memories of Alex Cahill in terms of Walker, Texas Ranger. And I know this is specifically about the Walker, Texas Rangers, but no harm to get some great insights in terms of Dallas as well while we're talking to you today. Absolute pleasure, Sheree Wilson, talking to you. Very exciting news to hear that you're still in touch with Clarence and you're still working together, even so many years on, and still going sort of strong. Thanks for taking your time to relive your memories of Walker, Texas Ranger from 1993 to 2001 in terms of cult classic TV, iconic sort of series. Sheree, an absolute pleasure, and we wish you all the best in 2021 in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you.
Cheers,
Bye.
Sheree. Bye.